At exactly 2:17 a.m., the phone rang for the first time in 37 years. Robert Charles stared at it from across the kitchen, his breath caught halfway in his chest. No one ever called this number anymore. Not family, not friends. Not even wrong numbers. The ringing didn't stop. When he finally picked it up, a voice whispered only 5 words. "I remember what you did." The line went dead. And just like that, the lie that had kept them free for decades began to unravel. Robert Charles had built his life on forgetting. That was the only way to survive when your past was sharp enough to cut through everything you touched. At 62, Robert lived alone in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. The kind of neighborhood where lawns were trimmed twice a week, and neighbors waved but never asked real questions. He taught part-time at a community college, American history, ironically enough. His students saw him as calm, thoughtful, harmless. They had no idea. Every night at 2:17 a.m., Robert woke up. Not because of an alarm, not because of a nightmare he could remember, but because his body never forgot the moment everything changed. 37 years earlier, at that exact time, a scream had echoed through a forest in rural Pennsylvania, and then stopped forever. Robert sat at his kitchen table now, the phone still warm in his hand. His pulse hammered in his ears. "I remember what you did." 5 words, no name. No threat, just memory. He knew immediately. Someone else was awake now. In the summer of 1987, Robert was 25 and terrified of becoming nothing. He wasn't alone. There were 4 of them back then. Robert Charles, quiet, observant, the one who noticed details. Mark Ellison, loud, reckless, born to lead even when he shouldn't. Rebecca, Becky Sloan, sharp, ambitious, the smartest person in every room. Thomas Reed, gentle, loyal, always trying to keep the peace. They met at Penn State, bonded over late-night debates and cheap beer, convinced they were meant for bigger lives. That summer, they rented a cabin near Allegheny National Forest. No cell service, no neighbors. Just trees, stars, and freedom, or so they thought. On the 3rd night, everything went wrong. It was almost midnight when they saw her. She stood on the side of the narrow road, waving both arms. Early 20s, long dark hair, blood on her knee. Mark slammed the brakes. "Jesus," Becky muttered. "Is she okay?" Robert's stomach tightened. Something felt off. The road was deserted. Too deserted. But Mark was already out of the car. "Hey, you all right?" The girl looked up, eyes wide, shaking. "My name is Emily Carter. My boyfriend left me. He took the car." Thomas frowned. "Left you out here?" She nodded. "He was drunk. We fought. He just drove off." Becky crossed her arms. "This is how horror movies start." Robert said nothing. Against his better judgment, they let Emily into the car. That decision would echo for the rest of their lives. Emily didn't talk much at first. She stared out the window, fingers twisting in her lap. But when they reached the cabin, things shifted. She asked questions, too many. Names, schools, where they were from, what they planned to do after graduation. Robert noticed how she listened, not casually but intently. Later that night, after drinks, Emily pulled Robert aside. "I know who you are," she said softly. His heart skipped. "What? You think I didn't recognize you?" Her smile was thin. "Your dad testified against my uncle. Sent him to prison." Robert felt cold. "That was years ago. My uncle died in there." The cabin felt smaller. Emily's voice dropped. "I didn't end up on that road by accident. What happened next was never written down, never recorded. Only remembered differently by each of them." Voices were raised, accusations flew. Emily threatened to go to the police, not just about Robert's father, but about Mark's fake scholarship, Becky's altered exam records, Thomas's stolen research grant. She had done her homework. At 2:17 a.m., Emily ran into the forest. Mark chased her first, then Thomas. Robert followed and Becky stayed behind. The scream came seconds later. They found her at the bottom of a ravine, her neck bent at an angle it shouldn't. Silence filled the air. No one moved. Finally, Becky whispered, "If we tell the truth, our lives are over." Mark swallowed hard. She slipped. "We didn't touch her." Robert knew that wasn't entirely true, but he also knew the world rarely cared about almosts. That night, they told the police a lie so clean it sounded like truth. One lie, 4 voices, perfectly aligned. The case was ruled an accident, and they walked free. Life moved on, or pretended to. Mark became a real estate mogul in Arizona. Becky climbed into federal politics. Thomas opened a non-profit in Oregon. Robert stayed quiet and invisible. They agreed never to speak of Emily again. And for decades, the lie worked. Until the phone rang, Robert wasn't the only one. Within days, Mark received a letter. No return address. Inside, a photograph of the ravine. Thomas got an email, sent from an account named eCarter2167. Becky received a voicemail with static, and a woman breathing. The past was knocking. They arranged a call. First time, all four voices shared a line in 37 years. She's dead, Mark insisted. This is a prank. No, Robert said quietly. Someone knows. Thomas whispered. What if someone else was there that night? They all went silent. Becky finally spoke. Then our lie just expired. Robert flew to Pennsylvania. The forest hadn't changed. But the ravine had. At the base, half buried under leaves, he saw it, a rusted locket. Inside, a photo of Emily and something else. A folded scrap of paper with their names on it. Emily hadn't fallen accidentally. She had been collecting proof, and someone had found it. The call came again at 2:17 a.m. This time, Robert didn't hesitate. Who are you? He demanded. A pause. Then a familiar voice. Becky. I couldn't live with it anymore, she said. I was hoping one of you would confess. Robert's blood ran cold. You sent everything? I didn't, she replied. I left breadcrumbs. What does that mean? Another pause. Then sirens outside Robert's house. Becky whispered. The truth always finds a way. Even if it takes decades. The line went dead. The investigation reopened. Evidence surfaced. Witnesses came forward. Not because they remembered, but because technology did. Their lie had worked in the past, but time had changed the rules. At trial, Robert took the stand. He told the truth, for the first time. As the verdict was read, he felt something unexpected. Not fear, not relief, but peace. Because the lie that kept them free for decades had finally let them go. Some lies don't break you right away. They just wait, until you've built an entire life on top of them. And then they collapse everything.